with the recording, we're able to have, people can come and watch this later on. So if ends up being a small group, question and answers might just be verbal rather than text box. Sometimes that runs away when you have large groups. So anyways, and if I can ask everyone to mute, I can start doing that here in a second, but I'll get going here.
Can we use the chat? That's just a question.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, please. Yeah, definitely use the chat. So, and just hang tight one second. Just dealing with a technical error here. I lost my mouse on my computer. Sorry. And there we go. Okay, I'm the one having problems here. Hello, everyone. Happy almost end of the year. Thanks again for coming to another discussion. I know we normally discuss things that are Israel related, but obviously one of the big things that has, it's always been there, but it's really come out of the darkness, and that's anti-Semitism. And if you've driven around Los Angeles, and quite frankly, any major city across the country, you may have seen these bright pink billboards with very direct statements that are in your face, that are provocative, everything to do to point out anti-Semitism, to point out characteristics of Jews, things like that. So those are created by an organization called JewBelong. And tonight we're joined by Robin Fenner. Robin you're the COO, right? Is that your title? Chief Operating Officer. Little side story, if you go on to JewBelong.com, you'll see the about me from everyone that works there, and there's like a picture of Robin as a little girl, and she was that age when she met Karen, my wife. So they go back a number of years. They went to Israel on a women's trip a few years ago. Robin's here from Los Angeles. She grew up in LA. She's married. She has her two boys. I think one or two sons, one son, two sons. Whatever it is, one's away at school, one's home. So, and most importantly, if you want a mean lasagna recipe, he's got it for you. And, to you music lovers out there, she can sing Freedom by George Michael like none other. So depending on how much time she may bless us with that. So we'll just get right into it. Robin, I'm going to spotlight you. And thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
Great. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. That little bit that Adam read is from our website. We put a little Q&A to get to know, so people can get to know us better. So that's from there. But I am really glad to be here. I am going to share my screen. I'm going to do not too long a presentation for you, so we can have more of a discussion or a Q&A if you like. And I'm happy to share with you what JewBelong is about, and how our mission has evolved a little bit to really focusing on confronting anti-Semitism. And that's a word that I used. There's people, there's organizations who fight anti-Semitism and combat it, and that's really good. And I'm not saying we don't do that, but I would say that our style is a very direct confrontation of what it's about. So I'm going to go ahead and share. Not that. My goodness. Hold on a minute, please. Now why isn't it? Oh, okay. I see why. Now, hopefully that does the job. I'm not even having the option to share my screen now. Oh, let's try this. Sorry, hold on a minute. It's not I tested this just 20 minutes ago, and let me try this again here. That's very odd. Okay, so there's my presentation.
Do you have the option to share?
I have it's something to do with, okay, here we go.
Okay, good.
There we go. All right, you guys can see that, right?
Yes.
Oh, except for, hold on. Sorry, give me one more second. It's not how I want it to be for me, sorry. Okay, hopefully this does the trick. All righty. Okay, you can see my presentation now, right?
Yes.
Everyone can see. Okay, very good. All righty. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about JewBelong. Okay, so where we started in 2017 is not where we are today. We were founded with the belief that Judaism was in need of a rebrand. We saw some troubling data that revealed that over half the Jews in the United States were doing very little, if anything, Jewish at all. Not only is this a huge loss for Jewish people who are missing out on everything that we love about Judaism, the beauty, the meaning, l'dor v'dor, the connection to our past. So not only is that very sad, but we also know that for Judaism to thrive and continue, we have to find those disconnected Jews and share with them the fact that joyous Judaism and the practice of it is something that really will enhance their lives and has relevance today. So that's what we were founded with. And that was a really happy, joyous mission. This is a little chart that kind of sums up where Jews in America fall. Unfortunately, the smallest piece of the pie is observant Jews, lives whose the people whose lives kind of center around Judaism and their practices related to that and Jewish life. The middle-sized piece are Jews who are connected but not as observant. They probably celebrate the big holidays. Maybe their kids go to Hebrew school, maybe not. And unfortunately, the largest piece of the pie are the DJs. We call them DJs. Those are disconnected Jews. They account for over half of Jews. And the tough thing about trying to talk to them is that they're hard to find. Because they're not on like Federation email lists. They're not walking into synagogues, and they're definitely not reading Jewish news. So it was not just about talking to them, but first we had to find them. So finding them, welcoming them, and understanding that our community is stronger and better with them. And if we didn't talk to them, we'd really be missing out. So how do we get through to disconnected Jews, DJs? So remember, they're hard to find. So we go where they are. And just by the way, I've been working in marketing and digital for a really long time. And the old model used to be, if you build it, they will come. People would build websites. And when the internet was smaller, it was easier for people to like find what they wanted online. Well, now the internet feels infinite, may in fact be infinite. So it's not about that anymore. We have to go where people are. And so again, finding disconnected Jews, how do we do that? We have to, first of all, develop really relatable, sometimes provocative language to get their attention. And we have to reach them via billboards, social media, mass media. The goal is to give them a reason to take another look at Jewish identity and everything that it may hold for them. These are a few of our most popular billboards that have nothing to do with fighting anti-Semitism. This is kind of where we started. I'll just show you these messages. And you can see we talk about our free materials. I'll show you a little bit more about that. So this one I especially love. And I want to tell you about like what we do once we reach people via social media and billboards. We encourage them to visit our website. I don't know if you've had the chance to check it out, but this is a place that lots of disconnected Jews get answers to their questions. It can be basic things about Judaism and the holidays. And we really don't want to scare people using terminology they may not understand. Nothing feels worse than being embarrassed that you don't know something that you think you're supposed to know. We have our own term for what that embarrassment is when it comes to things that are Jewish that you think you're supposed to know. We call it JewBembarrassment. And you can see this is like when you mouse over certain terms, we give all the definitions because we don't want it to be like a barrier for entry that people think, I don't get that thing, I'm going to stop here. I'm not welcome. This is not for me. So in order to fight JewBembarrassment, our messaging and resources are really, really inclusive and do not assume that people have any prior Jewish knowledge. There's no judgment. As soon as you start judging people, they run for the door. We also have these beautiful booklets. This is a free resource that we provide. They're really easy to understand guides about all the holidays and even some non-Jewish holidays, but like a Jewish look at Thanksgiving, for example. And the best part, again, is that they're free. We don't want the fact that people may not be able to afford and sometimes an expensive shul to be a reason they don't take part or engage. So this is, again, what we lovingly call joyous Judaism. But it can feel hard to be a joyous Jew or talk to people who are even on the fence about joyous Judaism when anti-Semitism paints a target on your back. And that's where we are. And we had to acknowledge that. So in May of 2021, as you probably remember, Hamas launched a major attack against Israel from Gaza. And anti-Semitism rose dramatically and became normalized in the US in a way we have not seen in my lifetime. So as an organization that focuses on messaging and the mission, we knew we had to expand our mission, even though it kind of hurt our hearts to do. We had to expand our mission to confront anti-Semitism. But it's not easy. Here's a look at what we're up against in the social media space in particular. Have a look. It's ugly. It's hard to see. But this is what's going on social media. It's a space largely frequented by impressionable young people. And it's largely dominated by ignorant or just plain hateful people who are using the space in a new and insidious way. So on social media, as well as on college campuses, the Jew haters are selling young people this wholesale ideology that says, hey, young person, we know you care about the environment and women's reproductive rights and LGBTQ rights. Well, if you care about all that, you also have to hate Israel. These all go together. This is a package deal. And if you're not with us, you're against us. So this is the message that Jews, especially young ones, are seeing every single day over and over and over when they pick up their phones. That one, that message there on the far right, you can see, like, this is what we call intersectionality. Are you guys familiar with the term intersectionality? Nodding or no nodding? No. So intersectionality is the idea that, like, my struggle is your struggle. So people, so people who are invested in Black Lives Matter, particularly, like, let's say Black Americans, they're supposed to see themselves as aligned with other people who have dark skin, Palestinians, Hamas even. Our struggles are the same. You want your land back, Native Americans? That's what we want too. You're feeling oppressed, LGBT community? So are we. This is the intersection of our causes. So join us. It's a disaster. It's terrible because often really well-meaning people are lured in and fooled by that. This is what the kids are seeing. This is what anyone in social media sees. So we have to fight back. And we are. And we started right away in 2021 using all of our methods: billboards, social media, the press, our website. And I want to talk to you a little bit about billboards. They might seem old-fashioned, but the thing about billboards, which is not the same as social media, is they cut through all the different demographic dividers. On social media, people are very siloed. You see probably in your own social media, largely pro-Israel, pro-Jewish messaging. Things that matter to you. Maybe, if you're into gardening, you probably see a lot of messages about gardening. You see what you're there for. They know who they're talking to, you're targeted. Billboards cut through all of that. Billboards reach young, old, Jewish, not Jewish, Black, white, rich, poor, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. And we very carefully target locations where we're going to reach the widest audience with our message. So that's why billboards. And it may be an old-fashioned method, but it is tried and true for a reason. And we are having great success with our billboards. Oh, here is a little bit of some press. Oh yeah, about the billboards. I want to show this to you. Let's see here.
I don't need people to like it. I need people to read it. I need people to stop hating Jews.
Concerns about a sharp increase in anti-Semitism has prompted one particular group to push back. Standing high above 3 of San Antonio's busiest intersection are these
billboards are now popping up across Metro Detroit
and across the country, raising eyebrows.
In Tampa, speaking out against anti-Semitism.
Here in Boston and other U.S. cities have created a whole new conversation.
Joining us today is the organization's founder, Archie Gottesman.
We live in a world where message matters. If we had just said, stop anti-Semitism, you might not notice it.
If you've been around LA, you've seen the big billboards on trucks.
Can a billboard end anti-Semitism? No. but you are not a billboard.
The color and wording are in your face, meant to grab the attention of bored drivers stuck in traffic.
San Antonio is one of at least 6 cities in this campaign.
The message is also being spread in Spanish.
I want people to be like, what did that just say?
Archie Gottesman is the architect of the campaign and has a specific goal for people who see the billboards.
And to speak out and to be an ally to the Jewish community, because we need it. We're good allies for other groups, and it is a time for others to be an ally to the Jewish people.
We just got to stick together. No matter what race you are, we're human. That's it. We're human.
I think the idea is great for New York, especially in such a diverse area. We have to live together. So no more discrimination.
Reaction to a new billboard campaign in Times Square to fight anti-Semitism. Powerful messages.
It reads, it's just 75 years since the gas chamber. So no, a billboard calling out Jew hate is not an overreaction. Anti-Semitism is growing in America at ridiculously high rates. Anti-Semitism, as an example, has increased 64% in Nevada from 2020 to 2021. Anti-Semitism is rising in the United States. It's rising in Tampa, Florida.
According to the Anti-Defamation League, reports of anti-Semitic harassment, vandalism, and assault are up 34% from 2020.
An all-time high since they started tracking this information in the 1970s.
The FBI director says 63% of all religiously motivated violence in the country is driven by anti-Semitism.
I don't think Jews have felt this kind of sort of bold anti-Semitism in a very long time. Silence does not help a cause. Like, silence is dangerous when it comes to hate. It's clear that didn't happen in the 1930s in Europe for Jewish people. It's not going to happen now. It has been deadly, and it'll be deadly again unless people stand up for justice.
To learn more about this campaign, visit JewBelong.com.
I don't need people.
So that's some of the press coverage that we've gotten that is really helpful to us to further amplify our message. We partner sometimes with other organizations. The Federation of Dallas partnered with us. You know what they wanted, especially they wanted this message across from mega churches. So we picked, they get 10,000, 20,000 people in there on a Sunday. So they wanted this message there. And by the way, the messages were very well received in those places. I like that one. I put that one at Balboa and Ventura. I don't know if anyone saw it. Oh, we even had them in Spanish. We have to talk to our allies. We can't assume our allies all speak English. We know some of our allies speak other languages, so we're talking to them too. Okay, so this one is the message that we are currently running. Okay, so we know that for a non-Jewish audience, we have to remind them that Hamas is their problem too. They may not care about Jews or hostages, but they care about themselves. And we know it's a quick leap from hating Jews to, by the way, I'm saying sort of two different things. We know that Hamas's mission is not just anti-Jewish, not just anti-Israel, it's anti-American, it's anti-everyone. But also you've heard the expression that how a society treats Jews is like the way that society is going. We're really trying to make people get this connection. I'll just share a little bit more about another method, maybe my favorite method of outreach. Places billboards can't go, we have the JewBelong truck. It's a really effective method of getting onto college campuses because there often are not billboards on college campuses. The kids love to see the truck. It's so empowering and so fun for them. I'm going to show you a 1-minute video on the truck. We get requests all the time to send the truck to people's schools, and we have it drive. It's been driving around nonstop for months and months and months, crisscrossing the country.
Robin, we don't have sound. I don't know if there is any.
I love the truck. Okay. Oop. All right. So, all about the message awareness and then amplification of that message. So as I mentioned, we share on a massive scale our work through our press teams. And so we get a lot of pickup on that outside of just the Jewish world. Again, talking about getting outside of those silos, we have to get others to pay attention, and we make them. They are. And so how do we know it works? We have different methods of measuring success. We have big engagement numbers. That engagement is how it is any way somebody interacts with our message online, social media, or on the website. It could be booklet downloads. It could be liking or viewing a social media message. But to me, my favorite, the most touching method of feedback is our testimonials. We get hundreds and hundreds of testimonials. Every day we get at least a few. I mean, we get so many, like a big giant almost mailbag, but it's digital, of people who take pictures of the billboards, share them online, talk about them, and start conversations. And it's really meaningful to us that people take the time to do this. So those are just a few of them. Really, really love it. And so I'm glad to be able to share a little bit with you about what we do at JewBelong. And this is a message that we're also starting to run now. We all have to do our part. Nobody can be silent now. And I'm really, really glad to talk to you about JewBelong, and I'm happy to open it up to questions. That's all I have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
No, Robin, thank you. And I guess, we're a smaller group tonight. So, if anyone has questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself. And actually, I actually have a few. When you put up your data on how many touches, how many impressions, things like that, do you have any details on how this is impacting the non-Jewish community? Because Jews will see this and be like, oh, yes, yes, yes. But what about the non-Jews? How are you impacting them?
Yes. Well, so first of all, the testimonials that I mentioned, at least half of them are from non-Jews. So we know that we're making an impact with them because they're taking the time to tell us. Also, just by virtue of the fact that the Jewish world is so small, and when we extrapolate out the engagement data that we have, we know that we're reaching far outside of our realm, and we pay for ads to do that as well. So we don't just depend on like the organically generated conversation. We pay to have ads placed in spots where it's not, predominantly Jewish. So we really are making sure that we do that. And also, as I mentioned, the press picking these up on these outlets talks to everyone.
So, and then following up to that, I read that the Anti-Defamation League just a few days ago said that since October 7th, there has been I wrote this down, 400% increase, something to that effect, in anti-Semitic incidents, crimes, and there's different meanings behind each one. How has that affected your strategy and what you guys are doing? What's changed since October 7th? Obviously there were incidents before, but that was a sentinel moment that changed everything.
Yes, it did. We have really had to lean into some extremely direct messaging. Sometimes people don't like what we have to say. Like, for example, you saw the "Let's be clear, Hamas is your problem too." We had a version of the billboard that said, "Let's be clear, Hamas would chop your head off too." Wow. It's direct, and some people complained and they didn't like it, but it's not the time to be squeamish or shy, and we're leaning into that. On the website, if you go to anti-Semitism, we had an anti-Semitism cheat sheet, but now we have another anti-Semitism cheat sheet post 10/7 edition. That has a lot of helpful information for people who are like, these people are everybody on social media and out in the world, they're constantly bombarded with this anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic messaging. So we want to arm them with like some quick information to refute that, or even, in a conversation, or even for themselves. So we're speaking very directly about in a post 10/7 world. Everything's changed for us.
No, it's interesting. And then you mentioned, was it intersectionality? That's a term I think most of us haven't heard before. Is that the correct term, intersectionality?
Yes, it is. And it's it's having such a disturbing, destructive effect, especially on young people and even on like me. I mean, I would say, you know, I just was in a meeting yesterday, was it? I said, I used to feel arm in arm with people like who cared about the same things I did. Like I mentioned, like women's reproductive rights and common sense gun laws and caring about the environment. I felt like we were like this. All those are Jewish values, by the way. I thought we were like this. And then in May 2021, they dropped arms with me. They're like, you're on your own. You're on your own. We're all over here and you Jews and, you know, we're over, you're on your own. And it was a very painful reality. And I know my identity, so I can live with it. But if let's say you're one of these over 50% of the Jewish population of disconnected Jews, where are you going to go? Let's say you're just starting to even think about caring about being Jewish. Let's say you're forming your Jewish identity. If you have people who seem to be well-meaning people fighting for the underdog, fighting for the little guy, where do you go? It's so dangerous. It's really scary.
Yeah. Robin, thank you so much for being with us and your passion and your voice. And I have a few different questions for you. One is the voice of JewBelong, and when it comes to the taglines, like definitely background marketing, like branding it. So who are those? Do you test them? Like working on a campaign, a marketing I worked on a political campaign before, but like working in a marketing campaign in the speed of that, who works on that? Like who's part of your team on that set? And do you test it or not? Do you have focus groups or not? Because it goes so fast. I'm curious about that. I'm curious about the content that you have online. That's something totally different. And like who kind of works on that side? Because we are all, a lot of us are educators here. So I'm curious whose voice that is, and the audience. And then I'm curious when you mentioned May 2021, what happened there? And this movement of DEI, like diversity and inclusion. Like I've gone to a lot of JEDI, justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, and my identity is as a Jew, and then kind of trying to do implicit bias in that sense. So I'm curious. I know those are a lot of different areas, but I'm curious about the voice, and then also, is there an opportunity for you in terms of implicit bias and being an educator in that space, or like that's not the goal of JewBelong? We're not here to be here to make everybody like be okay with us or advocating or educating on DEI, but we're really here on like, we're Jews and we're proud. So curious about that.
Yes, that was a lot of really good questions. I'm going to take them in the order that I remember them, and then you remind me of anything I forgot. So, okay, DEI is unfortunately looking like a failure because Jews don't count. Jews aren't part of it. We know we're the tiniest minority, one of the tiniest minorities in this country, and we're not considered a minority. We're not considered a marginalized group. And in that respect, DEI is a failure, because it'd be one thing if we were just omitted, but we're not omitted. We're demonized in the curriculum. It's a problem, and it hurts our hearts as Jews. We know, I mean, I don't know how many of you have been to Tel Aviv, but right near Independence Hall, there's a mosaic that says something like, "We were all once refugees." It's so beautiful. I cried when I saw it. That's the Jewish heart of us. We care for other people. We care for the refugees. We care for those who suffer. We care for those who don't have an equal shot in life. That's what we're about. But no one's looking out for us. No, we're part of the model minority. I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but it references Asians fall into that category too. Yes, you're a minority, but you guys are doing fine. You're like a model of what a minority should be. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you are really successful. And so you don't really count when we're thinking about how minorities are treated in this country. So if DEI actually took into account the fact that Jews are a vast minority and recognized us in any way and didn't go so far as to demonize us, then I would have hope for it. I think it's ultimately going to be a failure unless there's a massive, not just overhaul of the program, but overhaul of the leadership. There's no Jews in that leadership. There's no Jews informing that process, and that's by design. I don't mean to sound a conspiracy theorist about it, but it's a fact. So that's what I have to say about DEI. Our two co-founders, Archie Gottesman, who you saw in the news clips, and Stacy Stewart, founded JewBelong, but they worked together for decades in marketing at Manhattan Mini Storage. Okay, Archie's father owned Manhattan Mini Storage. Archie owned Manhattan Mini Storage. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that. If you spent any time in New York City, they innovated marketing in New York City with their billboards. Archie wrote these. She worked on them. This was like her baby. And so it was, I mean, they made news. So it was using billboards to promote something kind of boring, mini storage. And that, like, really, they saw the success of that and they decided to apply that to being Jewish. So it was their brainchild. We all work on the messaging. We also have writers, professional writers. And yes, we test the messaging on social media. We'll put up maybe sometimes 2 versions of something, or we'll put up a new message and we see which gets the most likes, sometimes the most hates, depending on who's hating us and why. That is great. We don't mind. So we see, you know, what's getting the most action online, and we know those are the most successful, and we usually go with those. I answered what am I forgetting?
Well, you mentioned May 2021, because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure that the anti-Semitism or that shift of what was it for you, or maybe I'm not aware of, like, where was really that
Yeah,
shift?
sorry I didn't draw that line clearly enough. I'm glad you asked. So in the war in May of 2021, it was kind of the first time that social media was a thing when there was a war in Israel. So it was the first time that the ignorant and the actual legitimate Jew haters had a huge microphone. And when you talk about a big microphone on social media, I mean celebrities, I mean influencers, you know, your Hadids, you know, like, you know, those girls that are like models, famous for being famous or whatever, like those people, like Mark Ruffalo, like people who are really popular and have millions and millions of followers are telling outright lies and demonizing Israel and Jews. That's what I mean about how everything changed. That's part of why we saw anti-Semitism spiking, because that has an effect that can't be denied. So the game changed, the battlefield changed, so to speak, and we absolutely have to change with it. And that's what we are doing. That's why we're so active on social media. Thank you for wearing JewBelong pink on your shirt. Appreciate it. Anyone else have any questions? Happy to answer.
Robin,
Robin.
Sorry, someone else was talking.
Hello.
Please.
Yes. Yeah, this is Zach. I wanted to say thank you for joining us and love hearing all what you're doing. I'm just curious, where do you get your funding? Because it sounds like it's great and you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. So Archie pays for all our overhead, all the salaries, everything. Donors pay for all our billboards and truck, and sometimes our social media outreach. So that's something that makes JewBelong very different and very special. I mean, I worked in a Jewish nonprofit before. I was VP of Marketing and Communications at Stand With Us. I love Stand With Us. I have worked in other nonprofits. It's highly unusual that any organization can say 100% of your donations go to our methods of being out in the world. Everybody has to pay for Kleenex boxes and you know, and salaries and copy paper. JewBelong does not. Archie pays for all of that. So yeah, that's why supporting JewBelong, if you really want these messages out in the world, that's why, if you care about joyous Judaism and fighting anti-Semitism and getting the free materials in people's hands, like that's like, I'm very proud of that. And I don't know of any other organization that can actually say that.
Thank you for that. That's really great.
Oh, sure. I'm glad you asked.
And thanks to Archie too for everything she's donating and what she's doing. That's amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, she didn't have to do this. She could have just spent, let's say she's from like a highly successful family and certainly didn't need the tourist. And, but she was very compelled. And again, I feel kind of bad because she really wanted to start with something fun. Her husband, the man who asked her to marry her and then became her husband was not Jewish. And she said, love you, but I have to marry a Jewish man. It's not even a question, because my children have to be Jewish, and God forbid something happens to me, they need to be raised by a Jewish parent forever. And so he's like, oh, what's this? Tell me about being Jewish. And that's kind of what sparked her thinking. She's like, God, there's so much that seems like such a bummer about being Jewish. You know how we joke, they tried to kill us, we lived, let's eat. She's like, God, there has to be more to it. How can I rebrand this to even appeal to this nice guy who wants to marry me? And that's really where it started. I mean, that's not where JewBelong started, but it was her inspiration. And it should have been, JewBelong should have been more fun. It should have been more about the joy of being Jewish. And unfortunately, there was just no way to ignore what is happening in this world with anti-Semitism. So it's certainly empowering, but it's not as fun as like, come to Shabbat dinner. I can't wait to show you what it means to be Jewish. So anyway, but that's Archie's experience.
Fantastic. Are you guys working with policymakers to, discuss anti-Semitism too?
Archie has the ear. We have the ear of a lot of very influential people. Archie herself is kind of the big fish that everybody goes after. So we happen to have special connections and have the ears of those people. In terms of making policy, we're not co-signing bills. I wouldn't say that, but I would just say that we get to be in some interesting conversations with some decision makers.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Ira and Jojo.
Hi, that's what he calls me. I don't mean to sound ignorant, but what is Archie?
Excuse me. Well, that is her given name is Marjorie, and Archie, she goes by Archie. That's the person you saw. Okay. That's the person you saw on the
right.
News. Sorry, her name was written in the bottom of all those, so I figured you saw it, but I really should have mentioned that.
And the other thing is, again, ignorance. I haven't seen any billboards. Certainly no trucks. I haven't heard of any trucks on our campuses here in California, which have had quite a bit of unrest.
Yeah. Where do you live?
Canoga Park.
I haven't had any that far west. I'll tell you the truth. Although, by the way, so we have a very special relationship with our outdoor media company. So we get tons of free billboards all over the place. So sometimes they even spring up places I'm not sure they're going up, and I find out after the fact, but I don't think we've had any that far west. We've had lots and lots all over LA, and we have had over 512 in the country. So that's a lot. And we're going to hit all 50 states next year. As far as the truck, as I mentioned, the truck is crisscrossing the United States, driving all over college campuses. We go to sporting events, community events, concerts, the Justin Bieber concert. So we go where the people are. And I'm very sorry you haven't seen the truck. And if the truck comes back here, I will let you know, because I buy pink donuts and hang out with the truck and people come talk to me. So I had fun with that. I stopped with the truck near the Museum of Tolerance, and a big group of teens were having a meeting there, and they all came over. They all wanted to take pictures with the truck, and they were like, wow, someone cares enough to be out here, like telling us, like, we're behind you, we got you, we see you. Like it meant a lot to the kids. It meant a lot to me to see that. So I really wish you had seen the truck. And if it's back, I'll promise, when it comes back, I'll let you know.
But there's
Can you talk about your
billboards in the
driver?
valley.
Ooh, some questions.
Can you talk about, sorry, I was gonna say, you're talking about the truck. Can you talk about the driver? You had shared a story with me about the driver.
The driver.
And
Oh,
what-
which one? Adam, our lovely non-Jewish driver?
Exactly.
What did I say? Did I tell you that he's not Jewish and he's very proud to drive this truck around? Was it that he talks to everyone? Was it about the fact that when we had the truck vandalized, about that? What was it?
Yes. Yeah, all of that. It's just
He's
interesting. You have a
awesome.
non-Jewish person here who's proud of what he's doing.
He is. Well, it's really nice because we couldn't have just anyone driving this truck around. He's very approachable and friendly. He's not like trained to talk about anti-Semitism. We just want him to be friendly and give away bracelets and get people to take pictures. So he has to be approachable. But yeah, I mean, maybe this, I'm not sure if this was what I was going to tell you, but so of our 512 billboards, and I'm going to have more every day, more go up. We've had the only place any have been vandalized, and this is separate from the truck, but the only place they've been vandalized, with one exception, which I'll tell you, is in Northern California. I mean, it is a nightmare. Tons at Berkeley. I mean, I'm sure you're all dying of shock. And all over, like in Northern California, it's and with a very highly coordinated effort that is applauded and amplified and maybe coordinated by JVP, Jewish Voices for Peace, which they're probably not even Jewish, although there's a couple of Jews. So it's very disturbing. We file police reports. We are working with the highest levels of the ADL, actually trying to see what we can get done about this. But all the vandalism is there. There was one billboard vandalized in Jacksonville, Florida, which was very surprising, and they took it very seriously. You can tell when you call the police departments, and unfortunately I'm getting very familiar with this, how seriously they take it, how much they care. In Northern California, not really. And I've talked to a lot of them, Redwood City, San Jose, San Carlos, San Francisco, South San Francisco, Berkeley. I mean, it's a lot of my time. But in Jacksonville, Florida, I mean, the news crews were out and people were disturbed. Now, obviously, some hateful person did that, but it was a different attitude and different feeling there. But the truck was vandalized. We have video of it. Actually, you can see it on our social media. There's a video of somebody throwing something at the glass and it's shattering, and it was very dangerous. We were really nervous for our driver, but that was at it was the day after the march on Washington. So there was that beautiful day. Remember, what was it in November? 300,000 people poured in. You saw all the speakers, that day. Everyone was feeling good. And then just the vandalizing of the truck was like extremely disturbing and upsetting and sad. And we can't, I had a student from Berkeley call me saying can we put some billboards up? And I said, I want to. I will probably get my truck back to you there, but I can't get billboards up at Berkeley anymore because the billboard company won't take them. But not only that, business owners whose businesses were immediately adjacent to those billboards, like right below them, received death threats about having the billboards like near their business. And so we won't cede the battlefield. We have to regroup and strategize about getting our message there, but we can't allow our mission to endanger. I mean, it wouldn't be our fault if someone got hurt. It's the fault of whoever perpetrates that crime. But sometimes we have to change our course. And I felt really bad saying no to this young woman in Berkeley, but we can't do it. That's the only place though that it's like too hot to touch at this moment. I see Jennifer, you have a hand up?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And sorry to be late for the meeting, coming from I was doing a podcast called Amusing Jews, actually. So that just finished. Yeah, which is a whole other story. I don't know what's in the realm of the possible. Two things. Just also, I'm back and forth between LA and San Francisco. So I've been most of my career, just until very recently, teaching at a university in San Francisco. So I really know. I've seen it, it's been terrible. And my Jewish students have come to me and said they don't feel safe. And but people are afraid to admit they're Jewish.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So anyway, that said, but I don't know if this is possible, and I wish I could remember the name of it, but something that I think is really a very effective strategy, if we can do it. There's someone I saw who's half Israeli and half Palestinian, and is progressive, liberal. But he did a great project. It might have been on Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC. I think it was on that program. He made a documentary. It's called, I think it's called, I was looking for it online, so this may not be the exact title because I couldn't find it. But it's called something like The Secret Voices of Palestinians.
Yeah.
And it's all about Palestinians who are talking about how they're oppressed by Hamas. And
Yeah.
I think that something like that would be great at undoing this conflation of Hamas and, because nobody wins with them. And I know it's beyond Hamas and et cetera, but I think if there were some way to get Palestinians who are, I know we see it in the music world, for instance, but who will, I know it's a tall order, good luck finding it, but if there would be somebody, a Palestinian who would speak against Hamas.
Yeah, there have been a couple that we've seen on the news and other sources coming forward. I agree. It's incredibly powerful. And I understand and appreciate your point about people. Oh, can you mute whoever's talking? Yes, that people don't understand the difference between, like, the people don't understand that Hamas is terrorizing the citizens of Gaza. Like, we get that, but we, free everyone from Hamas, free Israel and the citizens of Gaza from Hamas. Everyone needs to be freed from Hamas. But people don't understand. We will share those messages on social media. Yeah, so I agree with you. It's very, very important. And we do our best to share those when we come across them. Did anyone else have any questions? Well, Adam, did you have anything else as we are wrapping up?
No, I just wanted to see if did anyone else have any questions? If not, thank you. This, our conversations have been Israel focused, but with everything going on today, we needed to talk about the proverbial elephant in the room. And unfortunately, this is what's happening. And, I think we think it's great, the work that JewBelong is doing. It was actually mentioned at a previous meeting several weeks ago where someone said, have you seen those billboards, those bright pink billboards, blah, 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 blah. So, I think the work you're doing is incredible. I think it's amazing that you're going to be in all 50 states next year. I'm willing to volunteer to drive the truck in Berkeley, whatever we have to do. And there are some links being posted, just some general things that some people are sharing in the chat. But again, thank you. We appreciate your time. We appreciate what you're doing, what your organization is doing. And to the rest of you, this is recorded. It will be able to be shared. A lot of people tend to watch this afterwards. So if we don't have anything else, we'll be announcing another date sometime after the first of the year to talk more about Israel and the latest developments there. We will be hearing at some point from Stand With Us, which is something that Robin had mentioned.
Who's coming? Do you know?
I don't know at this point.
Love them.
They are very busy, as you can imagine. And Kol Tikva has actually been a benefactor of their programming for a number of years with our teens, to prepare them for college and things like that. But, another amazing organization. Robin, had worked there in the past and had mentioned them before. So again, Robin, JewBelong, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing. Look forward to seeing more billboards. Hopefully a time will come where they can go back to the genesis of what everyone really wants, and that's something really positive, and we don't have to fight this. But for now, fortunately, you have our back, and we're thankful for that.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. I do have your back. We all are looking out for each other. Visit our website. Check out our booklets. They're so fun. I love the Haggadah in particular. I know it's several months away at this point, but the Passover Haggadah is beautiful and so fun, so fun. And look at the anti-Semitism cheat sheets. They're really helpful. If you have young people in your lives or anyone, share those cheat sheets. They're really handy. They're really helpful. It's very digestible. It's not an overwhelming amount of information. Like, we know no one's going to read a book not no one, but few people are going to like read a whole book to get familiar with the real landscape. These cheat sheets are written in such a way that like they're easy to understand. And check us out on social media too, because we have lots going on there. It's really nice to meet all of you. And thank you for your time. Good talking to you.
And
thanks,
Robin, we might not have your billboards on the West Valley, but I work in West LA and I see the billboards all the time. So I appreciate it.
At at Ohio and
Pico and Barrington.
Yeah. Yes,
right
good. There's lots and they keep popping up. So thank you. I'm glad. I love when people see them. I love to hear that. Thanks for saying.
And the website is JewBelong.com, and I put it in the
.org.
.org. Okay.
Yeah, but I think we'll redirect through .com. But check it out. And I'm Robin, ROBYN at JewBelong.org. If anyone has any questions, don't be shy. Reach out to me. I would love to answer them. And again, good talking to you all. I hope you have a beautiful evening. Be well. Stay safe.
Thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Robin. Take care. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.